Finally, we have Christopher Vaglia from Agri-Tech Organics, blockchain in agriculture. Thank you, Christopher, for waiting patiently. I guess you're the last person, but we hope the last one is always the best one, I guess, because we're all tired now. So we'll wait for your presentation. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Master. Great job. Firstly, I just want to thank the PNG ICT cluster for giving me this opportunity to speak. I just want to commend you for a very good day today, a good turnout, some very good presentations. I was very inspired with a lot of the speakers here today. And as I was telling Priscilla, I actually had an ICT audit to conduct today. But I was here in the morning just to see the opening of the event, and I ended up staying the whole day because I was so motivated. So that was a good thing. That's a good thing. Okay, so my presentation hopefully will not scare any of you and probably put some life back into a lot of you. I know some of the technologies and some of the terms that I use are quite technical, and it puts a lot of people off. It even scares people sometimes. So I'll try with that human touch you understand, some of the fundamentals that surround this technology, blockchain. Now, I'm sure a lot of us have seen and have heard about blockchain technology, and it's a very scary area. Firstly, we've heard of the recent hackings that have been taking place. That was blockchain driven. The demand for a lot of this ransomware includes things like Bitcoin. They hold you at ransom and you have to pay a certain amount of Bitcoin in order for them to decrypt your files and give you back access to a lot of those things. So it's got its good and it's also got its bad side. So hopefully we'll understand a lot of those things throughout the course of this presentation. Now, firstly, we have to define this. Now, I'm not going to go through that. That's a lot of stuff to read, and we're all tired. So you just need to read the first line there. Blockchain is simply a growing list of records called blocks that are linked together using cryptography. That's all you need to know. That's how blockchain works. It's just a block of records. Now, I'll give you an example. And I always use this analogy when I talk about blockchain because I think it makes it a lot more understandable. Blockchain starts off with what you call a genesis block. It's the beginning of all blocks. Now, what happens is, once a transaction is made on a blockchain, all the transactions from that first block is then transferred to the next block, and it keeps going like that. So that's why the term blockchain is used. It's a chain of blocks essentially containing data. That's basically what a blockchain is. Now, the history of blockchain, as you can see, started off in 2007, but the real application came out in 2009. When a person or a group of people called Satoshi Nakamoto, they released the first white paper on what you call a cryptocurrency called blockchain. Blockchain is probably the first cryptocurrency that was actually made known to the world. And that's actually the first cryptocurrency that's in circulation. And now there's over 1,000 cryptocurrencies that are in circulation in the world today. Now, as you can see, the development from 2009 all the way to 2015, 2017, now we're developing applications using blockchain technology. Now, a lot of people use the term interchangeably, blockchain and cryptocurrency, right? But there's a clear distinction between blockchain and cryptocurrency. Now, if you understand this very basic concept, you will understand how blockchain works. Now, blockchain is the foundation in which cryptocurrencies sit. We all have a mobile, right? Android is the operating system that runs the mobile phone. That's what blockchain is. Bitcoin is simply an application that runs on the blockchain. Is that clear? And the reason why people attribute or they interchange the two is because Bitcoin was actually the first application that utilized Bitcoin. Is that clear? So that's why they're used interchangeably. The reason, and I'll give you an example, and I use this analogy a lot of the time when I talk about cryptocurrency and especially blockchain. Now, for example, I have a picture of an apple in my hand or on my mobile phone, right? And I wanted to sell it to Gary over there. He likes the picture of the apple. It looks really nice. He wants to have a copy of that apple. I said, okay, Gary, I'll send you the picture. So I send it to him on WhatsApp. I said, okay, but that'll cost you 10 kina, by the way. That's a very expensive picture of an apple. So I send it to Gary. He receives it. He gives me 10 kina. I'm really happy. And he thinks that he has the only copy of that apple. Okay. And I go to the next person. I said, hey, wait, look, I got a nice picture of an apple here. It's the only one of its kind. Do you want a copy of it? And the next person says, yes. So I do the same thing to him. So we have a problem of what? Duplication, right? Duplication. But what blockchain allows us to do is when I send that picture of that apple to Gary, all its attributes, all its history, from what you call a Genesis block, the first transaction, throughout the life of that particular block is all captured, it's date stamped and time. So it's essentially data being transferred from one person to the next in sequence as chains. So that's how a blockchain works simply. And the reason why it's associated with money is because of one of its many characteristics. To understand blockchain, you need to understand its underlying characteristics. Now, this is how blockchain works. It's a technology. The image on your far left is the conventional way of data storage and management. It's all centralized. An example would be, for example, a bank, all right? They're a third party. We are third parties to a bank, and in order for us to open a bank account, we need to have an account with the bank. So they facilitate that transaction for us. Whereas on a blockchain, it is a peer-to-peer relationship. So we own our own bank accounts, so there's really no need for a bank. Okay, I can transfer money to Gary, he can send it back to me without the use of a banking system. And that's because we've taken care of the issue of duplication. In a similar way that I can send a picture of an apple to Gary without having the problem of duplication, I can do the same thing, and it applies to money. And of course, the creative industry, right? We can put pictures, music on a blockchain, and it's totally secure. We can send it from one person to another without worrying about copyright and any of those issues. So that's the significance of blockchain. Again, another diagram. Here are some of its major characteristics. It is a digital ledger of all the transactions that are encrypted and sent from one person in a peer-to-peer network. Of course, the information is very secure. Now, that's on the flip side. You can use the same technology to hack people like our friends at finance. That's the downside. You can send a virus in their ransomware and compromise all their data. And then you can send a demand, that's why they call it ransomware. They hold you at ransom, right? And they can tell you, okay, send us 10 Bitcoins and we'll release your data. I'm surprised did they send any demands at all? Oh, I'm surprised they didn't. If they did, they would have sent a demand in order to release all that data. So I'm almost running out of time. Okay, it's a decentralized system, and of course, it can never be hacked. If you were to hack a blockchain, you would need the fastest computer, a quantum computer, in order to do it. So it's one of the most safest ways to save, store, and transfer data. And that's why it's used with money and things like Bitcoin now. These are some more of its attributes. It's immutable. You cannot change the data once it's left your wallet. Of course, it's anonymity, security, and digital freedom. This is why I got into blockchain in the first instance, because of our people in the rural areas. They're able to transact now without the need of having a bank account. All they need is a simple mobile phone and an e-wallet. And then, I brought this just as an example. This is a crypto card. This is my Visa crypto card. It's linked to my Bitcoin account. I can go to any ATM here in this country or anywhere else in the world for that matter and use this card and pay for goods and services. So in case people think that Bitcoin is some kind of a scam, this is proof. I had to bring this to show a lot of the people here because, you know, Papua New Guinea, they call it Thomas, huh? Plenty Thomas Blimis here. So this is proof. I've paid for food, I paid for things online using this from Bitcoin. So it is a legitimate cryptocurrency. It's floated on the coin market, and it's got value. These, again, are some of its attributes. Now, next iteration of the internet, which is Web3, aside from running smart contracts and other decentralized applications, I don't know if you guys saw the interview recently with Mark Zuckerberg, but Web3 is coming out. We're able, within the next 5 years, to speak to someone as if they were in the same use, using holographics and virtual reality. So these are some of the advancements in technology that allows us to send and receive digital money, and of course to do a lot of these other things here as well. Again, this is something I've already run out of time. These are some examples or use cases of blockchain throughout the world. So as you can see, we've only just begun the discussion here in Papua New Guinea, but worldwide, there is a shift in our financial system. And we all need to prepare ourselves for what's to come. The technologies here, Australia have already discussed this in their Senate. I've been in discussions with people in Australia, and one of the topics that is hot now on the plate is blockchain. They will be regulating blockchain and cryptocurrencies in the next 5 years. So this is what's happening. These are some of the companies that are using the technology now. Now from our end, these are some of the products that we've built. We built an online e-commerce platform for our farmers, which uses the technology for provenance, meaning to track the goods from the farmer all the way to the end user, and also to facilitate payment, and of course the logistical management side of things. Identity registration. Just imagine this, having a sovereign ID instead of an NID. So you can use that same identity to access your medical records, your NID to vote. You can do that on a blockchain because your data is safe and secure. You can't do that with any other technology. Land registration, that's a big problem in Papua New Guinea, right? So many disputes over land. You can simply put a piece of land on a blockchain and transfer it as a digital asset in a safe and secure manner. Voting. Now this is a really big one. People have asked me, why haven't you brought this up? I brought this up several times, but the reason why it hasn't been entertained is pretty obvious, right? So I'm not going to dwell into that too much. Of course, smart contract developments. We've developed a cryptocurrency called Kumul Coin, which is Papua New Guinea's first ever cryptocurrency. Again, it's not being used now because it's sitting on a cloud waiting for regulation to meet us halfway. We're still light years ahead of our regulators here in that regard. And of course, cryptocurrency mining. We mine Bitcoin. We create Bitcoin out of thin air with the technologies that we also develop and have built over the years. So this is basically what we do in a nutshell. I hope that you understand and appreciate some of the things that you can do with blockchain. I know it's very brief, and some of the terminologies here will take time to really sink in. I've spent a lot of time, I've spent many years in the field talking to our farmers especially, encouraging them to start understanding and opening their minds up to these technologies, because eventually this will eliminate the issues surrounding financial inclusion. Everyone will be now able to be banked. Most of them do not meet the minimum requirements to open a bank account in the first instance. This will solve their problem and also solve the supply chain issues and logistics as well. So the rest of my notes are basically just notes about some of the tools we use. I'm not going to go into that because they're quite little, but I'll leave the presentation with Priscilla and her team. So if you need to access that, please feel free to do so. I'll have my card here as well. So if you need to know how to sign up for one of these, it's free. It's no money scheme at all. It's a legitimate card linked to a bank. So you can come and see me later, or you can contact Priscilla and we can get that discussion happening as well. Yeah. On that note, I just want to share one final story. How many of you heard a story called, or not a story, but an event called the 5-minute mile? Have any of you heard of that 5-minute mile? Okay, there's an event called the 5-minute mile, or 4-minute mile. I can't remember now exactly. I think it's a 4-minute mile. Now, athletes in this particular event have tried for years to try to run this race, a mile, within 4 minutes. And that has never happened in history until in 1954, a person by the name of Roger Bannister came along. And he ran that race in 4.95 minutes. He shattered that record. And from that point onwards, that record has been broken multiple times. So that story tells us that, a lot of the work that we do here may take some time, but it takes one person to break through. When that person breaks through, you'll see the following that comes afterwards. And I'm very encouraged with a lot of the speakers here. That young man, especially Gerard, doing a lot with pretty much. I actually offered to pay for his web hosting for the next year for free. That's another service we provide. We have our own web hosting company. So if any of you are interested in hosting your websites, please feel free to contact Priscilla. I can give it to you at a good rate. I told this young man, you've inspired me, mate. I'm giving you free hosting for the next year. So I just want to encourage you all. I want to thank Priscilla again and the team for giving us a well-rounded event. We've got speakers here from different walks of life, different experiences. And I think this is a way forward for Papua New Guinea, for all of us to come together like this, to share ideas, to motivate each other, talk about the future. This is very important. Sometimes these discussions need to be had in order for us to move forward as a nation. So with that, I want to thank you, Priscilla and your team. Keep up the good work. And thank you all for your participation this afternoon.
Thank you, Chris. Chris lived up to his word. He actually closed out with a very, a very, very enlightening presentation. And thank you, Chris. And I see a lot of value in what Chris is trying to do, and he's very enthusiastic about it. And I guess this avenue is actually an opportunity for us to see what's happening out there. But I also see that we should actually, nurture this and incubate these type of events so that we can actually push more content out so that people understand the changes and the developments that are happening and how people are thinking to solve these issues that we have. So, Chris, I really appreciate your presentation, and actually this, we should take it further, and I give that back to the PNG Digital ICT cluster to advocate on these different technologies, different innovations, and the different ways people are trying to solve issues in Papua New Guinea. And I guess, Chris, you're a classic example of that. And I appreciate and I say thank you. So finally, we've come to the end of this conference. Finally, we know it's late, but I appreciate those who are here also, who have gone through that whole event. And I know you have within you that you actually inspired to do something, or you actually learn something, or you see an opportunity where you can actually explore and actually be part of the digital transformation or digital economy. So yes, we are going to close up today, and for myself, I would like to thank you all on behalf of myself and my team, and your patience as we went throughout this event. And I will now invite Priscilla to do a closing remarks, and we close up for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me.
All right, so please, big round